move ahead to our next speaker, um, Deepak. Deepak is Director Global Head of Employee Volunteering Program Outreach at Cognizant, and he is in the core committee of Head of Cognizant Foundation, Karnataka. Overall, he has an experience of 24 years with 9 years of experience within CSR, and top 5 strengths according to what he mentions according to Gallup's Clifton Strengths survey are harmony, responsibility, discipline, deliberative, and developer. He's a passionate, customer-focused, and service-oriented professional, offering diversified skills covering strategy, definition, and execution. Analytical thinking with the ability to execute short-term and long-term vision, building high-performance teams and creating leaders in their own right. So, as global head for Cognizant Outreach, the employee volunteering programming Cognizant, he has started since July 2017, and Cognizant's 12-year-old employee volunteering program and outreach leverages the professional skills and passions of its employees to enhance the quality of education, conserve and protect the environment, work in community welfare initiatives, and offer pro bono services worldwide through their volunteering efforts overall. And since it's an inception, 180,000 outreach volunteers in 29 countries have clocked over 3.1 million hours of volunteering, impacting 600,000 lives. Employees clocked 600,000 plus volunteering hours. So Cognizant is ranked 1 on the Self Society volunteering platform launched by Government of India in October 2018. And as head of core committee of Cognizant Foundation in Karnataka since 2014, he has been engaged with a small group of volunteers who interact with various NGOs in the field of education, healthcare, and vocational training, and work with them to develop concept notes, conduct due diligence, and ultimately submit grant proposals to Cognizant Foundation PMO. And out of 5 annual awards, the Karnataka Core Committee under his leadership has won 3 of them for being able to channelize maximum proposals. So I welcome Deepak for this, for your opinion. So the stage is yours. I welcome you, Deepak. Yeah.
You hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Happy to be part of this webinar. Thank you all for joining. In 2019, approximately 72,000 Cognizant employees across 29 countries volunteered for close to 6.2 lakh hours. 80% of this volunteering was from India. So we were volunteering in about 200 government schools. Volunteers used to participate in a dozen or more sapling maintenance, lake cleanup drives. We used to volunteer in about 50 to 60 shelter homes, orphanages, senior citizen homes. And we also used to offer our professional skills in pro bono fashion to various NGOs. Now, out of all of this, 5% of the efforts, or even less than 5% of the effort, was digital volunteering, right? So keep that in mind. In March, in the middle of March, when we were hit by the lockdown, we had to pause all in-person volunteering. Like Nirbhay was saying, volunteers wait for the weekend, wait for the shift to complete, and then want to get out of the office before they start the weekend. They want to actually participate in a volunteering activity. And like Nirbhay said, we are social animals, so we want to sort of form groups of people with similar mindset and go to the school and go to a lake and things like that. So we had to really pause all in-person volunteering. Thanks to my team, we had to reshape our program. And slowly over the last 3 months, we have made some amazing progress with digital volunteering. So today I will share 3 forms of digital volunteering that we have been able to kickstart over the last 3 months. And I'll end with focusing a little more on digital volunteering or volunteering in the digital education space. So the three forms are, one was the urgent and the critical need volunteering needs that we encountered in early April. And then second, need of the hour. What is the need of the hour today in the near future? And then the term that we all like to use, what about volunteering in the new normal, sometime in the future? So the first was the volunteering needs of an emergency nature. And through our connections, through our collaborations that were in place already, we got a lot of volunteering opportunities to manage helplines. So one of the helplines that we supported was to manage the food requirements in association with No Food Waste NGO. And this was happening in Coimbatore and a couple of other locations. So volunteers used to receive phone calls through some kind of a IVRS. And then they used to record requests from individuals who used to say, hey, I am in this locality and there are about 30 people with me, 30 people, 15 families who have not had food for the last 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. We are looking for some cooked meals or groceries. So our volunteers used to record such kind of requests. And then there used to be a process flow that we had set up in collaboration with the NGO, which meant that at sometime during lunchtime or at dinner, depending on the requirement, the kitchens that were set up specifically to address these emergency needs were actually shipping the food package to the needy people. Then we were called upon to support physician helpline. We have doctors and nurses as part of our employee base, particularly in Mumbai. And we were trained by a renowned doctor under the aegis of the Indian Medical Association to field questions from the general public. So, hey, I seem to have a sore throat, I have a cough, I am living in such a community, where do I go, where is the nearest doctor, should I go for a COVID test, and all of that. And then we were helping also in the travel planning of the migrant workers, particularly we got this opportunity in Kadalur district, directly from the collector of Kadalur district, where his request was that there is a huge database, but and we have phone numbers, but they're all Hindi-speaking people. We are not sure which location they are presently in and where they would like to go. And if this data is sanitized, if volunteers can call those migrant workers, we can then arrange appropriate trains to get them to their home state. Then we did a lot of validation also of migrant workers' data about persons with disability, because the government wanted to do direct cash transfer. But a lot of the information in the database of the government was not updated, not clearly understandable to implement the direct cash transfers with agility. And these were some of the things that we helped out under the volunteering needs of an emergency nature. Then coming to the need of the hour, just an example, as many of you would know, June 5th is celebrated as the World Environment Day. And you know, in normal circumstances, there used to be a lot of activity around environment, a lot of these sapling plantation maintenance, lake cleanup, public space cleanup, reducing, you know, the time that you use your car or your two-wheeler to come to office, and cycling sessions, and a lot of such things. But can't do much of them, of course. We stayed home and then saved some pollution. But then what do we do? Because not only we celebrate June 5th, but in Cognizant, there is a history of celebrating the entire month of June as a Greenathon month. So it's a campaign that we kind of run every June for the whole month of June. So we sort of planned in a different way, wherein we challenged the associates or the employees of Cognizant to take up certain initiatives. So they were challenged. We made them to pledge to do something. For example, we had expert speakers internally and externally coming in to share with the employees how to make bird feeders at home, how to make bioenzymes, the cleaners that can be used instead of the chemical cleaners, how to do composting at home using wet waste. And there were various other knowledge sharing sessions about biodiversity, turtles, and various other species of animals. It was nice to see that not only the employees participated, but the family members of the employees participated as well, which didn't happen in the past to a large extent. And then in normal times, we used to run an initiative to digitize content, particularly audio recording of books, which is curriculum, academic and non-academic for people who have eyesight issues, right? People who are partially blind, who are blind, and so on. But then it didn't get too much traction when things were normal. But in the current circumstance, we were able to promote that a little bit more, and employees participated in that. And lastly, the new normal, right, which I wanted to really detail out a little bit. Yeah, I mean, things were not hunky-dory in the sense, yes, there were struggle. There were cases where we were not able to reach students. I talked about the volunteering in normal circumstances where we volunteer with students with 200 government and government-aided schools. But we were not able to reach anybody, any of them, or rather very small percentage of them, right? So how do we sort of, how did we manage it a little bit? Okay, we tracked certain students, inquired whether they have a phone, a smartphone, a basic phone, if they have an internet connection by any chance, if somebody in the neighborhood has their internet connection with a laptop, and things like that. So the idea was to profile the access of the students to devices and internet connectivity. Other thing that happened was, so after understanding, after understanding the situation in the sense that, okay, schools are closed, teachers are also getting concerned. Will I be able to teach my students? How can they be encouraged to continue their learning? We developed something called as an, we call it Ekalavya. So it's an activity-based workbook based on the 7 wellness dimensions prescribed by World Health Organization that helps to nurture independent learning and emotional well-being. So we designed offline workbook. Basically, we can print out, photocopy, and take it. We circulated it internally so that the children of our employees could actually do that. And we were all like, we didn't want it to be digital because there are already too much digital fatigue. So it's a workbook that can be printed, and then there were junior and senior versions, sort of a thing. So very activity-based kind of. The other thing that happened was during normal circumstances, we used to, our volunteering in the school was restricted to improving learning levels of children, engaging them on special occasion and special days in competitions, a talent hunt, sports day, annual day, graduation day, some special days like Independence Day, Republic Day, and so on, right? So our interaction with the teachers was very limited to an extent of seeking permission, inquiring about whether we are on the right track with respect to supporting the students, and so on. But we saw this as an opportunity wherein we felt that this is probably a right time to get involved in doing something for the teachers, because ultimately they'll be hit by the need to do some form of online learning in the coming months. And that's where we developed a program called eDrona. It is a program which has 3 phases basically, and I'll explain it a little bit. But when we thought through this program, our initial pilots gave us some realization. It, when we try to think about online teaching and online learning, immediately we start to jump about, okay, we need to use some tools. But we felt that learning about tools is the least of the challenges. Certain offline videos can be shared, which teachers can go through in an asynchronous mode, and they can get a hang of how to use tools like Zoom or Microsoft Teams or WebEx or a Google Meet, Google Classroom, and so on. I think we realized that we have to prepare the teachers for remote teaching. That means we have to move beyond online tools. Basically, we shouldn't restrict to tool demos. But by and large, so we felt that the teachers need an approach, and we felt that we should provide an approach wherein it involves, we need to encourage them to profile the students, understand their access or lack of access, how to engage the students in an online mode, how to share assignments, how to take attendance, how to keep track of learning, how to encourage students to learn. And that's where we developed a three-phase program ultimately, wherein it involves the phase one, getting used to the tools, the phase two, start teaching using the tools, and phase three is developing content. And it was the developing content is a very important piece, because in a typical school environment or a college environment, you would agree that the teaching is in the form of looking at the notebook, certain reference book, writing on the board, and so on. So how can we sort of help them create some content? And that's where I should call out our partnership with Adobe, wherein a program called as Digital Disha was introduced, which helps the teacher to get used to a product called Adobe Spark, whereby they can create content. It could be as simple as a video content that can be created that explains how to pronounce arm and anar to a nursery student, to a high school student, wherein a topic called dance forms of Andhra Pradesh. Rich multimedia-based websites can be created, which includes content in video and audio and standard content form. So we have seen a lot of traction with respect to the teaching community taking to this mode of engagement, because they want to be really, really prepared. They are concerned whether their students are learning. And that apart, we did make a good amount of progress in ensuring that we are able to contribute to developing the employability prospects of persons with disability. Again, in standard circumstances, we would have taken these sessions face-to-face in our office campus or in the NGO's office and so on. But we have more virtual conducting these sessions as well. So these were the kind of things that we did. Yes, we needed to reinvent sort of, but I don't think we will stop this even after the COVID phase ends. I think we will continue probably 80% of these kind of initiatives in the coming months and years. Thank you, Nav, for the opportunity. Back to you.
Now we are on mute.
Thank you so much, Deepak. It was wonderful listening to you. In fact, I would agree that you have mentioned that before COVID or before the lockdown, things were not so conducive for when it comes to doing the digital platform, going on the digital platform, doing the online programs or the online volunteering programs. It was not so much in demand or in practice as well. But yes, this opportunity, the lockdown has started or pushed us to think within that particular direction. And it has allowed us to move ahead and think from the perspective that whether we will be able to be more creative and utilize this opportunity of using the technology. And you did mention that there is collaboration happening with respect to new technology, new apps. You mentioned the project which you're doing with Adobe, and you gave the examples of other things which you have been doing within your organization. So it's a wonderful insight. Thank you for your time. And we would definitely come back to you with some questions. Now, moving on to the